stand by me only if I'm right. I come out of triple darkness just to see the light. If I say it once, I guarantee I say it twice. If they want me, I ain't going out without a fight. In my dreams, I'm a killer, but for God, man. Try to play it cool, but it's getting hard, man. Rolling with the real and deaf to all the frauds, man. Not too many on me, yeah, it's kinda hard, man. In my room, sitting in my room. Know they waiting on me and I'm coming soon. Never been a sellout, never been a coon. Y'all be on the camera acting like I'ma show them how I true it.
One of those things, if I keep telling myself I want to live to be 120, right? It's just like I do maintenance on my vehicle. I have to do maintenance on my body and go get those same checkups.
Right.
You know, I don't want my car to break down on me as well as I don't want my body to break down on me.
Hey, thank you for watching the show. Hit the subscribe button. We're grateful to have you watching the show. Welcome to the B2M podcast. What we talking about today, Corey?
Brothers, we back again. What's going on?
What's good,
What's
baby?
up?
What up, though?
Peace.
What's good?
Always good to be with the B2M crew. We asking everybody, we got this concept we asking y'all to join us in. We together to sort of like impact this thing by sharing with you our stories in the brotherhood and fatherhood. And we see our audience, our people as our village. And our motto is reclaiming the village.
Come on now.
That's about this
Reclaim
word.
the
We're
village.
Reclaiming the village. Everybody talks about it takes a village, but we know the village been corrupted in this crazy society we living in, and we want everybody back to the reclamation. So B2M crew, reclaiming the village. Today we're talking about self-improvement and wellness for men and boys, and what are key things to keep in mind and consider. What did we do to focus on that? I know we all have our own individual wellness, self-improvement journeys. It could be physical, it could be mental, it could be spiritual. But one of the most powerful brothers that I've ever met in my life is younger than I am, right?
I know who you talking
And
about.
he was 26 years old at the time when I met him, and he was in my office interviewing to be the dean of students at a charter school in D.C. He's from Sacramento, California. I had went to Hampton, and so the school I was at, like I said, it was about it, right? So I'm thinking, 26. You know, some of these kids, 18 and 19, have been in the streets since they was 14. I don't know. He might be a little too young. You know what I'm saying? But I said, but then again, he kind of buff and all that. He looked like he at least he got strong, stamina. He can handle this, right?
Hey, you was 29.
No,
Nah.
not at the time. Not at the time. I was
Nah.
almost in my 40s. Yeah, easily. But easily that. But he interviewed, man, the light emanating from him when the words that come out of his mouth and his spirit. You know how you feel the energy of people sometimes?
Right.
Absolutely.
And it's just a powerful presence.
Yes.
I was in that. I was almost like, I ain't even interview. I'm saying, let me just ask him some questions to push these buttons, see what's coming out. He was on it about his love for the students, and he wasn't even qualified for the job because he had only been teaching for 2 years. But he applied. This was an administrative position I was bringing him into, and you could do it because charter schools have flexible standards.
Right.
At the end of the interview, he handed me a CD. He said that outside of here, I want a spoken word competition. I do spoken word, and I have an album that I put out, and I just want you to share the CD with you because it'll just tell you a lot more about me. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Okay. I left there literally, the interview was like, I like them, but I'm going to see what these other two people are. Me, I like music, right? I'm poetry, English. On the way home, the music was crazy. It was like, I described it to my sons. I was like, I think I just met the new KRS-One.
Right. Okay.
Wow.
In that time period, right?
Right.
And man, I used to tell him his music is so conscious. Shout out to Kariga Bailey, by the way.
KB.
From Soul Spoken out in Oakland, California.
West Coast.
He and Fifi, his wife Felicia, Dr. Felicia Bailey, educational psychologist, power couple, man. They went to Hampton together from Sacramento.
Okay.
Both were high school sweethearts.
Nice.
Went to Hampton together, moved to D.C. She went to Howard. He was in education, relocated back out to the Bay Area. to the Roses Charter School that named after Tupac out there. And then now he's on this new thing. The long story is to say they have this thing going on with men, and it's called Wellness is the New Genre. And they're bringing men together out in Oakland and fellowshipping around mental health and trauma and physical health. And how that's just so important now that men can stand up and say, we got to take charge of some things. And I know me as someone that's been a big brother all my life, on the physical wellness side, it's important to me, even though it's always a battle, it's important to me to educate my sons and say, hey, you got to take care of this. And on the modeling side, they have seen me, hey, I'm gonna do this vegan thing, man. I got to get down, or I got to get healthy, man. I'm going to do vegetarian. You going to do it with me? And they began to start doing it with me. And it started with my wife when she became a vegan. Mm-hmm. The whole house ended up, if you didn't fully became vegan, you were like, oh, this is good. And it became a part of your life. So how important it is for us to model the wellness and be honest with our kids about our own challenges with it.
Absolutely important.
You can definitely go first on this.
Yes, with my most recent
last.
battle regarding health and wellness was colon cancer back in 2019. And it was because I did a colonoscopy, and they
Did
saw.
someone make you get one, or it was?
Oh, well, my wife definitely was on top of the of that, as well as just I wasn't sure, but if I was eating a lot of tomatoes or something or whatever it is, or as well as just denial, but in my stool and seeing blood or whatever, and my wife was like, well, you can't play with that. You need to go make sure you get a colonoscopy. So that would have put me at what, 40, late 40s, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so
48.
yeah. And then of course they found a mass, whatever. I had the surgery, but I also opted not to do chemo and that sort of thing because I saw that as detrimental and being.
Let's talk about that. I want to talk about
toxic.
that
Because we
I
had
know
beef.
somebody that had
We
the
had
most
beef.
abusive friend conversation I've ever heard in my life. But if you died in that, just don't say nothing. Don't say.
That was this. Yes, this
Yeah,
guy
no,
was
but-
very passionate with regards to my the approach I wanted to take in the alternative route of
To not do the chemo after the surgery.
I was because that's what they were gonna it seemed like to be the protocol of them to say and so my surgeon my oncologist was like kind of shocked that I didn't want to do that. I was like, no. I was like, at least from what I knew with chemo, radiation, or whatever the case, but in this case, chemotherapy, I was like, that's toxic within itself.
Yeah.
It destroys.
Poison to destroy
It destroys healthy cells and so on and so forth. And I'd rather take a different approach that, where I in many cases, at least back in the day, because I know that chemo has changed a lot since years ago. And that it basically destroyed healthy cells, and a lot of people would end up dying from something else because their body was destroyed from the chemotherapy. You know what I mean? And they ended up dying from something else, not even the cancer necessarily coming back, or cancer itself.
Cancer.
Right. So I was like, and plus I asked her, I was like, okay, does this guarantee that it's not going to come back, the chemotherapy? Oh, well, it reduces it by about 35, 40% or something crazy. And I'm like, okay, no thanks. I'll take my chances with change. Well, actually, the year before I got had the colon cancer is when I decided to not eat meat anymore. Mm-hmm. That Thanksgiving 2018, and so it was 2019. No, I'm sorry, 2018 Thanksgiving. December 2018 is when I did the colonoscopy. Had the surgery 2019. And so I was like, no, I'd rather try something different. And they was like, okay, well, and of course in that we have to observe and do surveillance for 5 years to make sure it doesn't come back. So, I had appointments, every 6 months. No, I think it might have been every 4 months or something like that in the beginning, the first year or so, and then every 6 months thereafter. And thank God, praise God, that every visit, my numbers are great.
Thank
the
God.
markers
Yes,
are, there are no
Amen.
markers.
Yes,
no,
sir.
She's actually talked about my levels with my liver. The condition of my liver is like phenomenal, like off the charts with regards to that. So praise be to the God.
But you
Allah
gotta
for
tell
that.
people what you did.
Oh, well, what I did first when with the whole meat piece, I cut back, meat, but of course I hadn't been drinking or smoking anything all the time of Islam, of having accepted Islam. So but changing that as well as then taking a supplement with regards to curcumin and Curamed, being the chief thing that did a couple things. It protected my healthy cells. If I was to even do it, because I recommend that to a lot of people that may experience, if they had to go through, cancer and that sort of thing. It protects the healthy cells if they did to go, through chemotherapy and all of that. However, it was just good for the brother out of there's a book that I read with regards to this brother from India, and their diet is very high in that of curry and turmeric, and what's in that is the curcumin, which again is very beneficial, particularly to digestive health and all. So I did that, took that supplement as well as other herbs, and again just try to tighten up on my how to eat to live and whatnot, which is one meal a day, and so forth of good foods.
And prayer.
Less, of course, prayer. Yes, definitely prayer.
Right.
And just cutting out processed foods, white sugar, and whatnot.
What's your biggest takeaway from what happened to you?
Well, it's a really scary thing. You know what I mean? When they tell you about cancer, so all these things are going through your mind, like, damn, well, how long will I have, to live? And of course you're thinking of your family and loved ones and whatnot. And Waukee obviously thought I wasn't thinking nothing of y'all.
Oh, I wanted to say that, but Waukee did that out of love, y'all. But you know what I think is a powerful thing, and we're gonna get right back to the biggest takeaway was, I remember when it happened, man. We were all on the phone, and we would talk about this stuff and get together, or whenever we got around, it was like having this conversation. And I think I just knew when Waukee had that energy that was all about, that's the way I think your life gonna be saved. So I want you to do it. You know what I'm saying? But that was a scary thing. But I thought, when we were going to Atlanta or on the way back, we were talking about that scenario. And I think that's what I wanted you to talk a little bit about, was your possible ignoring, or like, oh, this tomatoes, or you know what I'm saying? So that's the whole point about this wellness is
You were seeing some
we think we
signs
are
and you was ignoring it.
State of the now.
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
You
They're not
want
kind of, and I believe it was because I was like, I didn't want to think, that. But then after it happened for too long, I did also, again, other than my wife, just, you better do such and so on and so forth. I was like, yeah, I probably better check into this to see and make sure it's nothing serious. And so, yes, fellas, young men, teach your young men and you yourselves not to ignore, at least, checking yourself, being checked out, you know what I'm saying, that once a year, whatever it is, even on that level, as well as just not ignoring any signs, or whether it's a nagging chronic cough or any of those things that just seem abnormal to your health and well-being.
For black men, what is it now? Is it 45 or 50? You're supposed to have a colonoscopy.
45.
If you haven't had
used to be
any
50,
history
they
in your family,
45.
when you're 45 years old, I think it's black men should have a colonoscopy.
Right, and then and what they told me now, because I had the cancer
Every few years?
my sons or whatnot, 10 years prior they need to have it.
So
Yeah,
about
yeah.
40.
So about
And
35.
then-
So yeah,
yeah. So man, and I also, Joaquin, I'm not trying to, because I know we talked about it, I know that encouraged you to go get tested when you found out about
It sure did.
J. Moo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It sure did. And that's when I went. I was like, well, let me see what's going on with J. Moo. Once I saw that, I'm like, well, let me go check, make sure I'm all right.
Right.
And of course, they found two
Polyps.
polyps that
Wow.
were very large.
Yeah.
And they were able to remove them. Now, I'm very different than J Mo.
You would have got all the chemo they
Hey
had.
man, give me everything you got in that cooler in the back. I'm gonna take all that.
Experimental drugs, anything.
I'm taking all that.
Oh my gosh, this guy.
I'm taking all that.
Oh
I
my
told him,
gosh,
Sanford advice?
man.
bro, I told J Moo, I said, man, listen, man. I said, man, you doing that funny stuff. People don't. I said, man, you better do what them people tell you.
Yeah.
I said, and I told him, I said, look,
The joke was mad.
do it
but
your
he was
way.
tight. wasn't he?
Do it your way. But if that cancer come back, I don't want to hear shit from you. And you gonna go and do what them people tell you. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I was on. You know what I mean?
Oh, my
I'm like, man,
God.
you gotta. I ain't trying to hear it. You know, because he always.
That man said, I'm anti-holistic right now.
Yeah,
Right,
and
right.
he always fussing at me about what I'm eating. You know, I got the worst. I think I got the worst diet up here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think.
What'd you say? When you had that palate of a
Yeah, I have the palate of a 5-year-old, and I clearly understand that. You know, I got the worst diet up there. I told J Moon, I said, man, you've been vegan, vegetarian. I don't know what you eat. They eating all that stuff. I said, man, I don't eat all that stuff. But I told him, I said, well, don't tell me nothing else about eating. I don't want to hear it from you because you the one with cancer I ain't got. So I don't want to hear no more. Now, in my defense of being a good friend, when he went to have his surgery, I think I was there. At the
My God was
hospital.
there. Praise
Was I-
God.
was I
Yes,
not?
yes,
He was
indeed.
there.
Okay, all right.
My
Awesome.
dude.
So
Yeah.
I'm fussing at him,
Awesome.
but his experience helped
I
me with
think
my
he was there
own.
there telling the doctor, give him that shit.
Yeah, give him that shot anyway.
Yeah.
You know, but like, nah, it's just one of those things that we gotta be on top of. And the reason we talking about this is because we have to be here for our children.
There was two
Me and-
lives. Say if James waited another year, or say if James waited another year
Right.
and didn't go. Yours growing another year, now you got cancer and James dead.
That's right. That's right.
That's two lives that were saved through him finding out.
And the impact that it has on our children.
Yeah,
And the reason
yeah,
we're
right,
having this
right,
conversation,
right.
and me and my brother sitting up here with that lost a father at 11 and 9 was through health issues and kidney
Yeah,
disease and all of
yeah.
that stuff. You know what I mean? And so what would it have meant for us to have had him in our lives as we were going through all
Yeah.
the stuff we were going through? So when we think about taking care and raising our kids and being there for our families, you know, the first thing we got to do is take care of ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Back to
and
the
we all
law.
done heard the analogy, you know, when you're on an airplane in case of emergency, oxygen mask drop down, you put yours on first
That's what they
before
tell
you help.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, taking care of ourselves and our health, that's us putting our oxygen mask on first.
That's a fact.
And that's what
Why
that's
do-
what we got to make sure we doing.
So we started off now. Then we starting off on this on the physical health side, right? And in physical health, in terms of the distinction is right now we're on the side of illness, sickness, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Why do black men have a problem going to the doctor?
That's a good
I
question.
would,
It's well, go ahead.
I wouldn't say I got a problem with going to the doctor. But for me personally, I put all these other things priority than
First.
going to the doctor because I'm not hurting at the time,
Right.
you know.
I'm good.
But I'm good. But one thing I've had a conversation with myself. Well, I have them all the time with myself, but I seen a lot of people dropping around me, 50 years old, 48, 49, 52, and I'm not talking about the gun violence.
Yeah, right.
I'm talking
right.
about health issues.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, yo, this is crazy, right? And so one of those things, if I keep telling myself I want to live to be 120, right? It's just like I do maintenance on my vehicle. I have to do maintenance on my body and go get those same checkups.
Right.
I don't want my car to break down on me as well as I don't want my body to break down on me.
Mm-hmm.
So just last week, it was one of those things I was proud of myself because usually my wife, in the past will set my doctor's appointments, you know, and stuff like that, because that's the only way she know I'm going to go. But the last, I think 3 times, I set my own appointment.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I set my appointment. And
No.
yeah, no, seriously,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And so went, you know, got all of the tests. I don't know, because it was just a couple days ago. You know,
Yeah, get all the blood work
yeah,
done.
but I mean,
Ain't
I'm
that a
claiming
scary
all as
time when
well.
you get that blood work done?
But what's that?
Or like when you go back, you on the
Oh, right. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
you just waiting a week.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, there's
Yeah.
somebody will phone you to let you know what the results and
Right.
you know, hope it's not no weird call. Oh,
Yeah.
could you come back in and blah blah blah.
We're gonna need you to come back in and go over your results. I thought y'all was gonna come.
And
Yeah.
quiet is kept. And I think my wife, she'll probably be like, "Oh, I knew that." My oncologist also was getting on me the past, I'd say, a couple years about getting an MRI. I think it was MRI. Is that the
Yeah,
like the abdomen and all of that,
right.
just to make sure, you know, that it hadn't spread or anything. Because I did, you know, they had done one shortly after the surgery, but I was due for another, and she kept, you know, putting in the order, but I wouldn't schedule it. And I think subliminally there was a bit of a fear that I think I'm good. You know what I mean? And I didn't want, you know
I
what I
think
mean?
that's what it is. We don't want the bad news.
Yeah. And so, you know, I finally, like, you know, once she did it this past year, and it was, like I said, it was due,
Yeah.
as well as a follow-up colonoscopy. So I went ahead and did it, you know, and thank God again,
Yeah, thank God.
as always, it was nothing. You know what I'm saying? It was clear. I was, you know, that was
Yeah.
good, as well as with the colonoscopy and all. So, but it is as far as generally not going, I believe all of us should at least have a certain level of knowledge and understanding of our health and wellness of our bodies. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so if, you know, aside from an annual checkup, physical or what have you, if there's nothing ailing you, I can understand why, you know, why we wouldn't go or don't go. However, why I mentioned in another episode with regards to the society being that of just, you know, big pharma, pretty much, and just a pill for everything,
Going
pill
to
for
the store.
depression, a pill for
Treat
weight loss,
symptoms.
a pill for, you know, whatever it is, and instead of doing the work and having the discipline of basically knowing that medicine, food is really a medicine, and it could keep you here and it can take you out. and very simple as that, but people ignore that and they'd rather, I'd rather, you know, if I'm ill, I'll take the pill for it. Whatever, let's do it.
You know, we
And
don't,
just mad
we don't
lazy
study
and
enough, man,
yeah.
because this whole big pharmacy thing, and I know y'all have seen the reels and people out there have seen all of the reels. You know, when you think back about how all of that stuff actually started, right? So the way holistic medicine versus everything in the cooler works is this way, right?
Everything in the cooler.
Everything you got in that cooler. This is the way it works. You can't sell anything that grows naturally as a product in its natural state. You can't copyright, trademark it.
Right.
You can't. I mean, you can sell it, you can't trademark it. Right? The only way you can do that is you mix synthetic chemicals in it. Then you can sell it because it's not something that grows naturally from the earth in its natural state. Right?
Right.
So, to do that, you have to, and it was either Rockefeller or one of those other big early American trillionaires, right?
Right.
He knew that, and he was like, nah, they created, basically, he funded the government putting policies in place for the FDA to make it so that in order for you to have something to get to the market, it got to go through basically a $20 million process. Right? So holistic medicine will never get government approval because nobody's going to go pay $20 million to go study tea that grows naturally.
Right.
Why? So they won't sanction it. So they won't say, now since it's not sanctioned, the doctor can't say, go take this.
Right.
I recommend in addition to the medicine you use teas but it is a scientific fact that God put everything here naturally that we needed to heal ourselves.
Right.
And that the whole world is just victim of the commercialization of drugs for money, as opposed to really looking at natural things that help. Are there some things that the natural stuff can't deal with? Of course.
Right.
But are there many that are really out there working and people have been using them for years to deal with headache, footache, kidneys, blood pressure? Man, you've been hoodwinked.
Yeah.
Right.
You've been bamboozled.
I mean, that's one of the irksome things about that in like when I watch television sometimes and they bring on a doctor that's talking about, things and remedies and stuff like that. And their first go-to is always drugs when it's like, say, for instance, headaches and migraines or whatever. On the basic sense of headaches, just hydration. You drink a little more water or some more water and that relieves headaches, but they don't mention that.
They don't.
Their thing is
Go get-
ibuprofen or some kind
Go
of
pay
aspirin or something like that.
$9.99 for 62 pills.
Yeah.
Or what-
I mean, it's a very handful of few doctors that's out there. One I follow, matter of fact, who he's a medical doctor. However, he prefers a more holistic approach.
What's his name?
Oh, Dr. Living Good.
I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I think that's one of them anyway. It's a
one
few.
of them, and then
But yeah.
it's not a doctor, but I
Dr.
follow my
Living
man
Good.
Gangsta. I
That
follow my
one
man
is birth
Gangsta
name.
Holistic. Who?
Oh, right. No, right. It's
Yeah,
Dr.
nah.
Living Good. But
Now, I think to get back to your original question in terms of why we don't want to,
Uh-huh.
Why
Why
don't we go
don't-
to the doctor?
we can't leave out the historical component.
Right.
That's obvious that we went through. And the easy one is Tuskegee experiment and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
true.
But
That part of it.
But all of those things has led to, that's the impact of the legacy of those experiments, is that they come back to cost us lives 70, 80, 90 years later because we don't trust that system, and we don't trust what they gonna give us, and we don't trust what they gonna, that they really
Yeah.
trying to make us healthy. It's almost like this, we believe that it's trying to keep you sick, trying to keep you coming back.
It's a compound effect as far as treating you like animals. When you denied literacy, when you denied education, when you denied all of that basic stuff, obviously you denied medicine, right? And you denied what you talked about, preventative maintenance, right? Preventative medicine. Then on top of that, okay, let's go see the doctor. Then you compounding that with the Tuskegee experiment and things of that nature. And even today, when they had things like black folks don't feel pain as much as white folks and all that type of craziness that some doctors and nurses really believe today.
Dog, they
Not
did
really
that.
believe, not that they literally did a study where black women were prescribed like 60% less pain medicine than white women for the same treatment.
Right.
Because
over
they're
time. Now,
tolerance
the
of pain.
benefit of that is maybe
And
they didn't
everybody-
end up getting hooked on all this shit.
Oxycontin.
Like we got the problem.
Right.
I'm gonna say something, man. I mean, it might be speaking out of ignorance and stuff like that, but I don't.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's
We'll
still
let you
not
know.
gonna.
It ain't gonna stop you from saying it.
It
right?
ain't gonna stop me from saying it. It ain't gonna stop my opinion. But when I was a child, right, and so many children, we get these shots when we kids, right, and
Vaccines,
vaccines,
immunization.
and they last a lifetime.
Mhm.
I don't have to get them no more. But why the hell we get a flu shot every year? Why they don't give you a flu shot for 10 years, 15? And then they say, oh, well, things change and all. Well, what about all them other vaccines?
And immunization jobs.
Yeah.
I think the difference is, and listen, if you're a medical professional, I'm just doing my best right now. But I think the difference is some of those diseases have been eradicated.
Like polio.
That we got, and I think they said
See.
it came back though. Look, couple since it came.
Yeah.
But most of them,
Measles,
a lot of them have been
smallpox,
eradicated.
Rubella,
and
right,
the
what-
flu
yeah.
can change, just like COVID, and they
The
come out with a
virus
new vaccine
mutates.
because it mutates.
It's something
and
to
it
do with a
change.
virus versus a bacteria versus they're not all the same thing as
Yeah.
well. I don't know the proper terminology. Virus, bacteria, disease. But I
So
understand your question. Though.
The Boys to Men podcast, or B2M podcast, is about 5 guys who've been friends for over 40 years. Between the 5 of us, we've been married for over 100 combined years. Between the 5 of us, we have 13 children, 12 sons. We discuss in our podcast about our journeys into fatherhood and how we raised our sons to be fine young men. from six-figure earners at LinkedIn to a professional Call of Duty player. College educated entrepreneurs, that's who we are. Our podcast is not a how to do it podcast. It is a podcast about how we did it. Come check us out. And I mean, it's just like anything else. Like we haven't, and once again, we not medical professionals. Please don't take anything we say. These just guys' thoughts. That's all this is.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
Guys,
That's really protect
Well, this is our disclaimer.
This is locker room talk.
Yeah, that's locker room talk. This guy's locker room talk. That's all this is. They haven't officially come up with a cure for AIDS, HIV, the virus HIV.
Magic Johnson not cured. I'm not trying to be funny.
Right, but the thought is, hey, continue to take what Chris Rock said. He said they ain't cured. Chris Rock said they ain't cured nothing since polio. They just give you medicine to help you live with it. And so the idea being is these pharmaceutical companies, they come up with stuff they keep you alive because we can keep you on the medicine.
Yeah.
We can.
I'm gonna remind you of something. Do you remember when Dick Gregory came here?
Oh.
And he came up to UVA to speak, and he was at the forum with
we
Julian
had the
Bond.
pleasure of having
me
lunch
and you
with
had the pleasure of having lunch. Being with him like 5-6 hours. You took him to the airport, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Do you remember what he told us?
About
cancer?
Dick had a whole suitcase.
He full of documents.
He had a whole suitcase full of doctors and medicine.
Listen,
all vitamins.
As Allah is my witness, Dick Gregory told me in Waukee that they diagnosed him with cancer. He showed us the cancer data, the diagnosis. Then he showed us tests saying it was gone. And at the time, I didn't remember. He said, it's water. He said, I went somewhere and he said, all it is just water. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Later, I'm making the connection. He was talking about Dr. Sebi. Dr. Sebi.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
With the alkaline,
Yes.
alkaline piece.
He was talking about alkaline water. We didn't know what it was back then, but he was talking about this dynamic we talking about with these people are not telling you that there are natural remedies that can do things and impact your health, but it just can't. For the reasons I said, the government $25 million to study to put it on the market, it's just not gonna happen, man. Unfortunately. But I'm gonna pivot real quick because we've been talking about physical health for the whole time. But what's our takeaway on that is go regularly to see your physician, even when we might be afraid or too busy, as Chill said, right? And listen to your wives, pay attention to what your body's saying.
Yes,
absolutely.
And the biggest thing I get on myself about, you work hard all your life. I get some of the best insurance. It's crazy. And I'm not just talking about because I got a cheap copay and can go see whatever doctor or specialist I want. I'm saying beyond that, I just looked at the wellness benefits that I have. I mean, it's like nutritionist benefit. It's many free things you can benefit from, classes and all of this to educate yourself that we don't take advantage of, man. And as we all know, it can cost you. And again, I know I'm a work in progress, but I'm gonna continue to strive because one thing I do know is that this Western world and the food is killing us. And that half of the medical problems we have is because of the food. So,
yes,
that's
and really it's a two-edged sword, not to deep dive back into the chemical thing, right? Because everything comes from the earth, right? And they ain't getting chemicals from the moon or from another planet, right? And so it's how you manipulate those.
The synthetic,
exactly. How you manipulate it, and it's really, what's your goal? Like, you're trying to heal people, you're trying to make money. You know what I mean? And so some things can be modified, right? And it's beneficial to us. Like you said, when you eradicate polio and that sort of thing. And that's the spirit but rather than these drug companies try to keep you on something instead of cure. There's not money, like this, there's not money in the cure.
Right.
There's money in keeping you on, keeping you alive, and keeping you hooked on that particular drug.
And if they stop letting them, did you all see, so if we shift away from the medicine to eating habits and other self-improvement things, the whole thing now is that they're saying is that the food, all of these documentaries on the food, man, and the chemicals in it and all of that stuff. So and that's what's important now to educate our children about, because we didn't know any of this. You grew up in the 70s. you probably drink some of every chemical that'll kill you
Right.
that's out there.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, for real. We drinking out of water hoses outside. We ain't think about parasites. We don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Listen,
saying?
they
We didn't have
plastic
car
hose.
seats.
You got
Yeah.
immune to
You know
them
what
if you they was.
I
Yeah,
mean,
right,
it was,
right.
you know, so our attitude was like, I mean, they had cigarettes. I mean, y'all know how it was. I,
We
mean,
went to the store
I
to buy
could buy
cigarettes.
cigarettes for my mama
We
when
did.
I was 8 or 9.
We
Right.
did.
We
You know what
all
I'm saying?
Right, right, right.
I need a pack of Filter King Cools.
Yeah.
I think my mom was on the Winstons.
I need a pack of Filter King Cools.
My mom watching, she gonna get me, but I think she had the Winstons back in the day.
Winston.
Yeah.
They
Real
used
quick
to
before
give
we
you
get
the
off-
pack to bring to the store and show it to
the
them.
man knew you. You know,
Oh,
you-
yeah.
They had charge accounts at the store, everything. I said,
Before we get off the medicine piece, one thing I just wanted to share with y'all that was real funny is
It's funny.
my physician, Dr. Zhao, sweet little Asian doctor. She was when she came in
Wait,
after, you know, and I'm not sure if it was her and or her physician's assistant that asked, "What kind of medications are you on?" I was like, "I'm not on any med." They were like shocked. You know what I mean? A 52-year-old black man in America, and you're not on any kind of medication, heart, high blood
blood,
pressure or whatever,
hypertension.
or
diabetes or well, yes. And they was just like, it was just crazy that they were so shocked that I wasn't on any prescribed medicines, yo.
That was the
Let's
I
go.
mean, let's be honest, man. The high blood pressure and the diabetes is the fried chicken and all of that stuff we eat, right?
Mm.
I mean, that's what medically that's what it is.
Right.
And that's just our eating habits dating back to when we didn't have a chance to choose what we wanted to eat, when we ate scraps, and now we call it soul food. I don't know why we call it soul food.
It ain't good for the
It
soul.
should be SOLE food. That's the only food we could eat,
Mm.
as opposed to food nourishing your soul. Because when you look at how our people eat and where we originate from, they don't eat like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're not eating in that way. So it's a game, and if we don't educate ourselves about it, we pay for it, right? With the sugar and the salt. And so really all of our health problems are traced back to sugar and salt, right? Pretty much.
For the most
Pretty
part.
much.
Yeah.
Kinda.
you
Kinda,
know,
sorta.
and So
kind of sort of.
let me ask y'all this, man. So in terms of beyond the physical health and what we ignore, what about in self-improvement and wellness in terms of just improving who you are as a person, your character, your attitude, your goal, your ambition? Like those are the parts too of self-improvement and wellness. That are you paying enough attention to your own trajectory, and how do we sow those seeds with young people?
I think for my son,
Go
a lot of times, you know, I always, he got friends and stuff, and I always ask him, you know, I always ask him, have you asked your friend this? Have you asked your friend that? Because I want him to not only just be into himself, as I would say, you know what I mean. I would say, son, do are you curious? Are you, when your friend birthday or what are they doing or what do they went to school for? You know, what they got a degree in? He like, I don't know. They might be able to help you. Y'all might be able to network. You might be able to, like, you have to, be engaged and know these things, and then that right there build your friendship, build your bond. And so that side of wellness, I like to share with him at times.
Absolutely,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Just
yeah.
so he could just be all around.
You
And,
getting better, improve yourself through your connections.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons we having this conversation is kind of stuck with us, but we had this conversation because we want to talk about what we taught our sons and about health and wellness and eating and all of that stuff. My oldest son Darius, he eats like my wife, healthy, fruit, all that good stuff. Youngest son Car, he eats like
All
me,
that good stuff.
chips, snacks, cookies,
Chicken tenders.
chicken tenders, chicken
Cheeseburger,
tickets,
pizza.
fries, pizza. That's what I like. Don't stop laughing.
French toast.
Don't matter. French
Bacon.
toast. That's right. Well, don't
Barbecue
matter where we
sauce.
go. If we in,
We could be in Costa Rica,
yeah, and I'm looking for
You still want
chicken
Dennis?
strips
Yeah.
and pizza.
Grand slamming.
I was really hostile and upset when we went to Paris. Everybody like, oh, you're gonna get there. You're gonna love the food. It's amazing. I'm like, I got back home. I'm like, that was some bullshit over there. I was hungry all week. I didn't find nothing to eat. I ate croissants all week because I couldn't find nothing to eat. Only time I ate good is when I went to the Hard Rock Cafe.
Shout out to Hard Rock Cafe in
Paris.
Paris.
Went to the Hard
You
Rock
ain't go to the
Cafe.
Paris
Hey,
McDonald's?
they left it up to me that day.
Oh, they should have known you was gonna eat some American
Hey,
food that day.
that was the
They left it up
best.
to me.
That was the best eating everybody had when they was on
They
the
left
trip.
it up to me that day.
But
dog.
hey, it's Springboard something for Joaquin, and he been on this journey
Wellness.
of shred.
Ah,
Some
yeah,
pounds,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Y'all watch episode 20 and watch this episode.
Hey,
I've been working.
hey, I got one. I got a story.
Y'all
Hey,
watch
listen,
episode
If they're
20.
gonna go back to the episodes, let me tell you how wellness is a yo-yo. You can look at episode 1, then go back to about 14 or 15 for me. And I was looking nice and getting small, then go back to 15 through 22, come back up, and now I'm tracking back down the end of the year out. I'm trying, man. It's a yo-yo, man.
a journey.
That
It
is
is.
so,
We
It's
all
a
have
yo-yo.
our moments
At
for
the
sure.
school, I see, it's amazing, man. When you, for real, straight up, our kids went to private school. This is something I noticed. Observation. Not absolute, just an observation. When my kids were in public schools, man, you seeing kids just huge all over the place. My kids at private school, I ain't see an overweight kid in the whole building.
Wow.
Like, seriously. I'm like,
Same
what
here.
is this?
Yeah.
You start looking around, observing, and what's funny is that's a whole nother conversation. But you know, when we send our black kids to these, you know, private schools, and the little white kid, they got carrots and celery, and yeah, they got
Answering a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
celery, some peanut butter, and raisins. Yeah.
avocados and all that. Man, I done sent my kid there with Rice Krispie treats.
and you know what the saddest
Huggies,
part?
little hug
You
juice.
know what the saddest part is, bro?
What?
Your child looking at that kid and say, "Your lunch nasty."
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But guess what? They was looking at my son like,
I want them
can
Rice
we
Krispie
trade?
treats.
Can we trade?
Yeah.
They gotta make a rule. No trading. Your parents sent you here to eat that. And yeah.
But also, even down to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
But also, even at the private schools, you know, the selection of food you got, you know,
Healthier.
versus public schools, you know, and so that was another thing that my son experienced. You know, even though he wanted to lean towards the bad stuff, but the choices of healthy was tremendous.
So we're
you
talking
know.
about food choices and socioeconomic conditions, right? And when we talk about self improvement, the first thing I think of is you have to have self-awareness, right? Then you have to have self-diagnosis, right? You have to identify it. And if you can't identify it, hopefully you surround yourself with people, friends and family that's going to help you identify it. And then you got to have the want to, right? So if you don't have those things, it don't really matter. And so when you can identify what we call food deserts, right? You can identify, and then you can identify, and going along with that socioeconomic issue, when we still talk about mental health, right? I mean physical health, but it's the mental health, right? How many people how many, especially poor people, we eat because of stress. We're stress eaters. You know, my kids are stress eaters. Our kids are dealing with exactly. And so that junk food, and combined when you talked about the unhealthy kids versus the healthy kids and overweight kids, because we are stress eating, you know, and that food is a drug as well, and we don't talk about
so
that.
you combine the poor food with the poor eating habits.
With the
and
poison in the
environment.
With
food.
the poison in
Like,
the
like
food.
Japan
Right.
just banned Fruit Loops.
And
Y'all
you
know
got
that?
poor
Poor
resort.
state of mind.
They
Yeah.
just banned Fruit Loops
Yeah.
in Japan, man.
That's crazy.
How many times y'all ate Fruit Loops?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, all of the stuff, like they got several products that you can't even get in Europe that are
canned.
sold commonly.
And is it just
in
the
the US.
dyes or something else they put in it?
It's
What-
dyes, man. It's all kind of chemicals, man.
Let me share this real quick.
Okay.
When we was in Europe, I bought a container of pretzels. I mean, not pretzels, Pringles. And I was like, man, these Pringles taste different. Now, the label and everything was the same, right? I said, these Pringles taste different. So I just naturally turned it around. And it was talking about, like, how healthy, basically, the Pringle was. It was like a plant-based, like, type of Pringle. This on a regular shelf that looked just like the ones. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the reason
Yeah.
why we the way, because they, the Pringles here, you're not gonna get that. You're gonna get all the bad stuff in it. You know what I
When
mean?
we was in Europe, I was the biggest joker on the train.
yeah.
They're like, oh,
And so
Shaq,
I was-
hey, how are you?
Hey, Biggie Smalls. I ain't no goddamn Biggie Smalls.
Hey, look, man, this will tell you something, right? I thought you was gonna say this to Lee. This is the problem, man. And there's a guy that does these reels. I can't think of his name, but he goes into the store and read the ingredients. Have you seen it? And then he talk about what the ingredients are. Man, why would you eat something you don't even can't even pronounce the words?
Right.
So we'll look at the back. It'll say, I'm just making words up, but that's what it looked like to me anyway. Oxygenated Biozinatine tuna tape. I mean,
Right,
it's
right.
like, red dot number 72, zoom, toon, 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 do.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Like, what is it? I don't
Yeah.
even know what
Yellow
it is.
Lake
Why are you
5.
using it? Because when I make that at home, I ain't got
All of
it.
that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When I make it at home, I don't got Aussie doo whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So my point is, everything is so I can preserve it in a can, I can preserve it in the freezer, I can preserve it in this, I can stretch it, I can cut it, I can do this, extend it, and make more. Meanwhile, ain't nobody done enough studies to know if this one chemical is the thing that's triggering that mutation that caused your cancer, that causes this. You know what I'm saying? Like with
Right.
our sisters now, all of a sudden now, perms cause, this was just recent.
Yeah, vaginal or cervical
Yes.
cancer or something
Yo,
weird.
man,
Yes,
it's
yeah, it's
like-
crazy.
So if it has more than 4-5 ingredients on it, it might be a good idea for you just not to eat it.
Right.
My guy Sean Stevenson says, and Sean Stevenson, if you get a chance, he wrote a great book called Eat Smarter.
Okay.
And Sean Stevenson says, just eat real food.
Mm-hmm.
Real food.
Right.
Pillsbury cookie dough is not real food. Where that grow at?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Right.
Fritos is not real food. Where Cheetos grow at?
Right.
You know what I mean? Where do hot fries grow?
On the
You know
tree.
what I mean? Right. You know,
Nah.
if we just make the practice of eating real food, you know, that will go. You winning right there. Let's just do that. Just start with that, and that will really help you. Let me ask y'all this question. I said before we started, I was like, me and John gonna get to arguing on this one.
But look, can we? I got a
What's that?
real food thing I gotta say.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
To our sisters, yes, I'm for natural hair. Because
Oh,
I just saw a reel, and then I went to read about it to make sure it was real. That those hair extensions is actually sewage. It's hair that they're finding in Asian sewage, taking it into manufacturing factories, cleaning it up, combing it out, shining it up, and selling those packs back here.
Forget
Where
the
you see
extensions,
that
man.
at?
They just go.
it is easier to raise strong children than to repair a broken man. Peace.
We out of here.
Peace.
Hey, I'm
And I won't stop until I'm winning. I'ma show 'em how true and independent get it. Whole game changed by the time I'm finished with it. We about to get this business handled in a minute. And I won't stop until I'm winning. They don't want me in the office 'cause I